I know it's really hard to believe, but there is a chair in that color of purple, and I am sitting in that chair. Alright, so one of the things I'm going to talk about right now is one of my favorite factions in Warhammer, and if you are not a Warhammer fan, this is easily going to make you one. It is... It is the thing that I always do for my friends and all this stuff to get them into Warhammer because I need more people to talk about it. And that whole faction or legion, I can't remember exactly the terminology for it, is none other than the orks. Now, I'm trying to think of what to start off with because there's so much with orks that it's absolutely crazy. I guess first off, let me explain orks. So the orks faction in 40k is, it's orks in space. I guess the best way to say it. But the way they fight and the way they function and everything is so interesting. Because they they functionally should not work. And why do I say this? Why do I say they should functionally not work? Because everything involving the orks is absolute insanity. And it's the best thing about them. So this video is gonna seem more unhinged than the Teletubbies video where I went on about all the lore because of the fact this is canon. And everything I say is just from the shit I've gotten learning the lore and learning everything about them. And I guess to start off very simply, I should probably explain what the fuck do I mean the color purple makes me invisible. And it's because the orcs, they follow this very weird set of beliefs where they believe colors affect their items in different ways. And the best example is with purple. Purple is considered a stealthy color, so it might not be used around the orcs, but it is considered to them practically like it's invisible. And we're going to start from the top going down, and I'm going to then elaborate on some of them because some of them are fucking hilarious. So, red. Red makes vehicles and their components go faster. So primarily all of the orc stuff is red. If you look at it, there's always a tinge of red. It's so interesting with that sense because you wouldn't even really think that. You would sit there and be like, well, what do you mean? If you ever have played the original 40k Space Marine, 40k Space Marine, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. Where you're seeing the fucking color red on fucking everything, or that they're launching themselves with rockets, and the rockets are the color red, and it just makes them go hell of a lot faster. They paint their vehicles, hell, they paint their guns, they paint themselves red, they paint literally everything red because they think you'll go faster. Now blue. Blue is a lucky color, and it is also believed to bring good fortune. It's a very nice way to word it. In all reality, what it means is they believe it makes you stronger. In a lot of ways. They believe the color blue means you have a superiority and you're probably going to be a lot more better. That is why they kind of, in a way, don't like the base Space Marines. You know, the poster child of Space Marines. Because of them all being blue, most of them. There's different legions and all that stuff, and I might get into that because I also really love the legions of the Space Marines. Now, yellow is associated with wealth and is also thought to make explosions bigger. Does that need to be explained? Does that need to be explained? Green. Green is the best color. Considered, the orcs are the color of green, and is thought to benefit everything. Yes, they believe their skin color makes them better and as well is the best color, but it's because of the fact that it's their primary color. And the boys love that color. And to explain, whenever they talk about themselves, they go boys. Boiz, which is, it's funny because they're Australian. They're practically all Australian, but they're dumb as bricks. And we're going to get into that. Black is a tough color, making things more durable and resistant to damage. Yeah, so if you're a black priest, you're going to be fine. You're going to do amazing to them. White is considered a deadly color. That one doesn't need explaining. Now, we're going to get into how exactly do the orks work. And the very simple way is the orks shouldn't work. Because all of their shit is built from scrap and look like they're going to fall apart in seconds. But the reason why everything works is because they have the strongest ability I have ever heard in fiction. It's just they're so fucking stupid. They don't understand they have it. And said ability is anything they believe comes to reality. So that's why I was mentioning the colors first, because I know that's a very weird thing to start with of colors. Why would colors really matter? It's tabletop game. It's dumb lore. It's because the colors matter to them. It matters to them the most. But to bring up examples of them believing things are real, I'm probably gonna have the image right up of one of their weapons. Is if you look at that. That is not a functioning weapon, because I'll bring up like Space Marines, I'll bring up fucking any other legion, and you're gonna look at their weaponry they're using, and you're like, okay, that looks like a gun, like at least that should be functioning, and then you're gonna go to the orks and you go, that does not work. Or one of my other favorite things is space combat, right? We're gonna start with this. This is absolutely wild. When you're fighting in space, how do you think you fight? If you said autocannons and, mounted artillery, you're wrong. You just roll down the fucking window and you start blasting. When an ork is fighting in space and they find another legion, it is literally a drive-by. They just roll down the window and start fucking firing. Like, it's ridiculous to say, I know, of just like a drive-by in space, but like it's literally how it is you're just blasting on you with their guns. And it's the same thing with like their warp gates and stuff, because you have to travel across space in some way, and these gates practically go through hell. And every other legion, right, it's like, okay, yeah, they have like this shield that protects them from the chaos and everything going on around them. No. Orcs just start walking out on top of the ship and fucking fighting. Their main function is to fight. And to prove this even more is if you find one orc on your planet, purge it. Literally, your planet fucking gone. Take that planet out. Because you might not be infested at the moment, but that one orc is enough to infest your entire planet in mere minutes. And it's because the way they reproduce is not by normal means of, sleeping with another person and, commencing the act of mating, if you want to say. No, they're spore-based. One dies, spores start spewing off them. And it's like hundreds of thousands that spawn from that one orc alone. Yeah, so you're just sitting there fighting for your fucking life because you accidentally killed the one orc. It is so... There's like... I'm like leaving out some shit because of the fact it's ridiculous and like in the best way possible. Like, even when they fight, you might have noticed if you played Space Marines, um, there, there are sometimes you will see orcs flying at you on rockets, and it's because they believe it makes you faster. They believe you're a lot more faster that way. And the way they run their army is so interesting because it's not based off of smarts. It's not based off of any of that. It is based off of if you're the strongest. If you're the strongest, you are the leader. You are the strongest boy. You are built for this war. And it makes it so perfect because you're just sitting there for a moment and you're like, yeah, you're coming up with this tactical strategy, and you see big buff fucking green man coming at you at Mach 5 on a red motorcycle with 5 others behind him, and you know he's the leader because he's the biggest one. It is so perfect. Now, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite stories involving them, and it's primarily two. And one of them is question if it's canon because of the fact because it's so stupid it could be canon, and the other and at the same time is it's so stupid it might not be canon. But the first one is canon, and it is about this orc named Grizguts. Grizguts is so interesting because, first off, Grizguts is a pirate. He's like a pirate-looking dude in a lot of ways. And Grizgut is at the same time the weirdest motherfucker ever. Because this guy, he owns a gun, right? It is his favorite gun of his entire life. And this is where he's doing a fighting on a planet, and they're about to leave, and they're entering a warp gate. To explain, the warp gates sometimes might not take you at the same time you left. Sometimes it'll take you to the future, sometimes it'll take you to the past. This one took him to the past. And Grizgut met a past version of himself. Now I know what you're thinking. You must be thinking in your head, oh wow, if you meet a past version of yourself, you might want to talk to them. You want to communicate and like have some form of way of showing like, oh my god, it's me. No, not one fucking bit. Grizgut's immediate response is he sees his gun on him and he goes, yeah, I want a second one of mine. And he kills his past self, and he gets the gun. And I hear you going, well, if you kill your past self, it's a paradox. You're going to stop existing. No. Grizguts still there. Because Grizguts believes he's still there. So Grizguts does exist, and Grizguts is still fine, even if his past self is dead. What? Did you want to use logic? After I told you anything they believe is fucking true? Bro, nothing is logic with them. If you make them believe something, they will believe it with their whole chest. And that cuts to the next one, and it's a lot more shorter than this one. And it is the Imperial of Man is fighting against them, and it's this small platoon. I think it's like 5 or 6 people. And they're running out of bullets, and there's one Space Marine with them, and like they're fighting for their lives, and they're losing men, and they are surrounded by orcs. It is like their final moments of fighting, and the orcs are surrounding him, and they have finally ran out of bullets, and they're sitting there and they're sweating bullets. They're like, "What do we do? What do we do?" The Space Marine stands up, and he points his bolter straight ahead. Right, he is ready to fight for his life with no bullets. And you just hear, bang! Everyone stops for a moment thinking, what the fuck's going on with this guy? And the orc he was aiming at it drops dead. And they're all sitting there baffled, like, how did this happen? And he goes, bang, bang, bang! and orcs are dropping like flies. So all of the Imperial Man is doing this now. They are just shouting the word bang and like ba 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 ba. They are absolutely going to town on these orcs, right? And it's working. And they're like, oh my god, we're winning, we're winning. And then these orcs, right, they run over the hill. And they're all clustered together. And they're chanting something, but they can't hear it. And the orcs are getting closer. And they keep going bang, bang. And they're like, why is it not working on the orcs? Well, as the orcs are getting closer, you can hear the chanting fully finally. And it's them chanting, I'm a tank, 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 I'm a tank. It's absolutely insane. And that's practically where it ends. And that's why it's speculated on if it's true or not, is because it's so short and so fucking stupid. But it could be true. Because there's no real, like, confirmed way that this is fake. And a lot of people like to believe it's true. It's so fucking perfect. And it is one of my favorite factions in Warhammer. They encapsulate the best parts and the worst parts in Warhammer, because it's like there are some complex shit where it's like the time travel and the paradox or the warp gates and all this stuff. But somehow it makes the shit that would be very complex to understand super simple, because of the fact you're looking at them through this perspective. Because you don't have to understand the mechanics of how something works or what they do. You just need to understand they believe it and it fucking works. And if it wasn't for that, I'm sorry. I think in a lot of ways it would be a big deterrent for a lot of people. Because there needs to be a way to enter this. And it's easier to just say, you know, man, I got into Warhammer because I read about the 15th Legion of the Space Marines. Which, okay, that's really good. It's really cool that you got into them with a Legion and not the dumbest faction in the entire fucking game. Because you got to read some really cool lore. You got to play the tabletop and understand the complexity and all this stuff. Oh, I forgot to talk about that. So, the orcs as well are one of the hardest ones to play, because I had done some research and I was very intrigued on playing Warhammer, and the faction I really wanted to play was none other than the orcs. Fun fact, they are a fucking bitch to play, because as I said, they're on the power of belief, and the orcs have, I think it's only 2 numbers to land on a 6-sided die. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, you have a 1 out of 3 chance of landing it each round, each turn for each orc. But if you're able to land it, you will do a hefty amount of damage, and it's really good and really fun. But it's a bitch. And it's like this for nearly every troop, and they're a lot very more melee oriented and all this stuff, so you have to make sure you're choosing fast characters and all of that. But they're so fucking cool. If I got you interested into Warhammer, I know this is very scatterbrained, and got you interested in this faction. I know it's very niche and very weird shit that I talked about. Hell, I didn't even explain them in the best way I could have. I was explaining them in the way that I love to explain them, which is the dumb shit about them. Please look up stuff. There's this one guy who I would watch all of his shit involving them, and this guy is Wes Hammer. If you have never watched Wes Hammer, please take the time to watch his videos. He has a bunch of stuff covering both 40K and the fantasy aspect of Warhammer. And it's a minute-long clip for all of his videos, and all of them are amazing dissections of both the orcs, legions, Slanesh, like everything. It is some of the best stuff you will get into. It is a really interesting read if you're into grimdark sci-fi fantasy. And I know that was a mouthful of words, and I had to remember it myself of what exactly I was trying to say, you know? But if you like the video, please comment on what you'd like to see me cover. I think the next one, I'm very stuck on 2 different videos, so expect 2 different ones. It's rather going to be about not so fun facts about serial killers, because I know a lot about that. Don't ask me why. As well, Trench Crusaders. And if you haven't looked into anything about Trench Crusaders, please take the time to do it. I'm most likely going to be talking about the 7-headed serpents, if you are intrigued about what I'm going to talk about. And I'm probably going to do more formal, where I actually read more of the document and stuff, besides for just saying the knowledge that I know from all of the lore I've read and all the lore I've listened to, because I'm pretty caught up on their lore. And I'm probably going to also pop up the map so you can see that and everything, because Trench Crusaders is so cool. If I was to suggest something after Warhammer, Trench Crusaders, for a fact. It is some of the coolest shit you will ever read if you're into history as well as dark fantasy. And, like, not really sci-fi, kind of mixed futuristic. Please go take the time to watch it. Or read it and look at the maps. It is so cool. It is so cool. But thank you. And I hope you all have a good day.